From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark visits with Ryan Schnoes of NEXTA Biologicals. I have the weekly export sales report with Greg McBride of Allendale. And Dustin wraps up his monthly chat with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, welcome into another edition of Iowa Ag Matters here on a Friday. Glad to have Mark Magnuson back with us in the studio. Mark's been having a couple of days out there over to the Plymouth County Fair, Lamar's, and then yesterday at Corteva in Johnston. Tell us a little about some of your travels you had.
Yeah, Dustin, it's been a busy couple of days. Made that trip to the Plymouth County Fair earlier this week. So, yeah, as you mentioned, I got to go back in time and do my math on the day it was. It was Wednesday I went to Plymouth County Fair, and we awarded the Heart of the County Fair Award for the Northwest District to Candace Nash Farr. And Candace, is instantly one of those people that you meet and you're like, yeah, she is totally deserving of this award, because as we get to the fair, she's already, in 5 different areas on the fairgrounds getting things set up, because that was the first day of the fair this year. And then, we're moving around to all these areas. She's showing me all the best places to, see at the fairgrounds, find the unique things at the fairgrounds, and learn about a little bit of the history of the Plymouth County Fair. And it was very apparent that Candace was, all in on the Plymouth County Fair, which is exactly what we're looking for when it comes to awarding the Heart of the County Fair Award. So that was a very fun time. And then yesterday, Thierry and I went to Johnston and the Corteva campus. And I say campus, I mean, it is a massive entity over there. If you've ever been to the Corteva site, or you've at least driven by it, you will know what I'm talking about. It is a big time situation where there is, field after field of test fields, test plots, all of their historic plots that they have there. And we were out in the field learning about a lot of the issues that farmers are dealing with this year, some of that new technology, of course, that's going to be available for farmers moving forward. And it was a good day to learn about everything that's happening. And one of the biggest takeaways I took away from yesterday, Dustin, is that the disease pressure this year to this point is not as heavy as last year. And we kind of had an inkling of that, but it was nice to get that confirmation from some of the experts at Corteva Agriscience.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we've been hearing, that, like Southern Rust has shown up, but it's nowhere near what it was. Tar Spot is there, and it's got its locations, but it's still not as bad as it's been in years past. And so I think also the message came across that we know that the ag economy is tight right now. And if you're looking at ROI and looking at your profit margins, the one place you can't cut a corner is fungicide, because not only are you getting that crop protection, but you're also giving the a little bit of a boost to the corn and soybean plants that are taking on that product. And so you're increasing the bushels per acre that you are getting, plus you're also maintaining those bushels per acre that you would have gotten anyway, because of the fact that you're helping keep some of that disease pressure at bay. And of course, that's something we'll be hearing about coming up, with the folks that I'll be talking with next week as well, talking about how we need to be prepared for these kinds of things. And we'll hear more about that coming up, and the other tools that are available. But it's definitely been an interesting couple of days. Of course, the markets have been interesting as well. A little bit of up and down momentum, a little bit of a war premium, and a little bit of weather all mixing together. And of course, we're going to hear now from Matt Bennett of agmarket.net, joining Mark to talk about those grains.
Joined today by Matt Bennett of agmarket.net. Matt, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
We're looking here right now. Corn's down. Beans are actually up a little. It's interesting in that, there is a system that's kind of gone through a big chunk of the corn belt. Now, unfortunately, a lot of folks have missed out on rain, whereas, I've talked to some clients in Minnesota and parts of Iowa that had good rain. So it's a haves and have-nots world once again. But unfortunately, as far as the corn market's concerned, it looks like the corn market feels like everybody got the rain.
And Matt, as we are, getting to that very critical part of the growing season, we're kind of getting close to the stretch run. We were talking a lot here recently about how disease pressure hasn't been quite as high as last year. What do you think that means for the overall yield numbers when we get to the finish line?
Well, there's no question that yield was robbed somewhat, especially in your state. In Iowa, there was a lot of issues. Some of the growers told me that the difference between double application on fungicide and no fungicide was 50, 60 bushels. So, there's no doubt we robbed some yield there last year. Fungicide or if disease pressure isn't near as bad this year, you've got to assume that can put us in a little better spot. Now, I do think that the areas that I would be concerned as far as robbing yield, are twofold. It'd be these areas that just keep missing the rains, first of all. And then second of all, the areas in June that just had an overabundance of rain, which parts of Illinois would be included in that. Guys that had 10, 12 inches of rain in the month of June, you've got to assume we lost some nitrogen there. So there are issues with this crop, and I don't think it's as good as a year ago. I mean, if you look, we're 10% behind as far as your good to excellent ratings go. Not a huge fan of good to excellent ratings, but it's a good idea of kind of what state the crop is in. And so I think you're going to struggle, to get above maybe that 183 the USDA's forecasted. But bottom line is it's nice that disease pressure isn't near as prevalent, because I know that double application of fungicide wasn't near as necessary as what it was a year ago. So it saved some guys a little bit of money anyway.
And back to the rain situation on the western side of Iowa, really the western quarter, western third of the state, that is the trouble spot where the rain has not been as prevalent as the rest of the state. What have your clients in that area been talking about in terms of those rainfalls just not materializing for them?
Yeah, and I'd say more specifically, like that northwestern quadrant, there's no doubt that some of the folks in that part of the world have just unfortunately been left at the altar, if you will, just not getting a chance to get the kind of rainfall that they need. A lot of aggravation with what looked like a very promising crop that unfortunately has gone backwards here the last few weeks. So, I think that they're still going to have some decent corn, but the problem is, when you go the whole month of July and just don't hardly get any rain, tip back would be the least of your concern, kernel depth, you name it. It's not going to be the crop that they were hoping for in a lot of those areas without, immediate rainfall.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Well, here on Iowa Ag Matters, we're going to hear from Mark Magnuson as he was at the Corteva campus yesterday going through their field day, and he's got some information about biologicals now and how they fit into crop plans in an ag economy that we're seeing right now.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Ryan Schnoes. He is here with us at the Corteva and Pioneer Field Day at the Johnston campus. And Ryan, I know you gave a presentation just a little bit ago about NEXTA biologicals, and I remember talking with you last year that you really kind of gave me a little bit of a different way to look at things in terms of, I always kind of thought of trying to build up your yield, but in reality, it's more having that starting point with that top yield and then fending off all of those stressors. Could you kind of explain that a little bit further, please?
Sure. So the example that I like to use is, David Hula, for example, he's proven what's possible, right? 600 and almost 23 bushel. So we know that we've got a lot of great potential in that bag of corn or soybeans. But the day we dump it into the planter, essentially Mother Nature just continues to take that away from us. So you could look at it and say, are we adding yield? Sure, but frankly, what we're doing is we're just slowing down that natural progression that takes place because Mother Nature, frankly, is chipping away at us every single day. There's just not too many days as beautiful as today where everything feels good. So when we have stress, you can look at that and say, yep, I'm losing a couple bushel that day. And over time, that's how we end up with, whether it's 179 or 180 bushel average across the U.S., it's because they all started with a lot, but Mother Nature took some away from others in a bigger fashion.
So when it comes to choosing the biological that's right for a farmer, what is that starting point? Because there's several different options. It's not an all-in-one thing.
Right.
So what would a farmer be thinking about when they're coming to NEXTA and saying, hey, I'm interested in biologicals, but I don't really know where to start?
Yeah. So I actually carry around a deck of cards, 14 cards, and on those cards, there's 7 corn stresses and 7 common soybean stresses. And I'll hand them to you, Mark, and I'll say, I want you to look at these cards. And if it's something you face on your farm, I want you to hold on to it. If it's something that you got under control, hand it back to me. I'm undefeated so far. Nobody's ever handed me back all 14 cards. And the reason they haven't is because these are common stresses. Even the best farmers deal with these. So where do you start? I think you look at the stress that you feel is costing you the most yield. And for some, that's early on stand establishment or planting into cool, wet conditions. For others, it's right now. And maybe everything goes really well until we get into grain fill. And then it's always, I feel like heat and or lack of rain is what kills me. So it's all about taking a customer by customer approach, right product, right acre, and making sure that the product I recommend is going to match up with what your challenge or your opportunity is. Instead of taking this broad brush approach and saying, oh, you just got to spread this like hot sauce on every acre, you're going to love it.
He is Ryan Schnoes with NEXTA Biologicals. We're here at the Corteva and Pioneer Field Day in Johnston. Ryan, thanks so much for the time today. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, appreciate the conversation, Mark. Thank you.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Time to run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Dustin Huffman. Only a few elevators remain using the August soybean contracts. Just about everybody has switched over to November. We'll point out the August ones as we come to them. ADM Burlington, 17 cents under on corn, $4.26. Soybeans, 8 cents under August at $11.70. Cargill Eddyville, 17 cents under on corn, $4.26. New Co-op Algona, 33 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans, 25 cents under, cash bid $11.62. Ag State Sheldon, 19 cents under on corn, $4.24. Soybeans, 35 cents under at $11.52 for the cash price. Ag State Alta, 26 cents under on corn, $4.17. Soybeans, 30 cents under, $11.57. At Cargill Cedar Rapids, they're 12 cents under on corn, $4.31. Soybeans a nickel under August at $11.73 for the cash price. Five Star Co-op Nashua, 32 cents under on corn, $4.11. Soybeans, 45 cents under at $11.42. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada, 20 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.23. ADM Des Moines, a nickel under on soybeans, cash bid $11.82. New Co-op Red Oak, 20 cents under on corn, they're at $4.23. Soybeans, 20 cents under at $11.67. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain, 42 cents under on corn, $4.01. Soybeans, 50 cents under, cash bid $11.37. New Co-op Sheraton, 24 cents under on corn, cash price $4.19. Soybeans, 25 cents under, $11.62. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 43 cents under on corn, $4 even. Soybeans, 60 cents under at $11.27. At New Co-op Glidden, they're 31 cents under on corn, $4.12 for the cash bid. Soybeans, 25 cents under, $11.62. Innovative Ag Farley, 42 cents under on corn, $4.01. Soybeans, 61 cents under, cash bid $11.17. And Cargill Muscatine, 25 cents under on corn, $4.18. Soybeans, 18 cents under August at $11.60. Cash, corn, and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevators when making sales to obtain the most recent price. And that's been a check of your basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit. With special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart, live.
Time now for Dustin Huffman's conversation with Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig as they wrap up on water quality, talking about the state fair as well, and America still continuing, of course, its America 250 celebration. Here's Dustin with more.
And it's also, I think, fitting that we're doing this in October, the harvest season, because of the fact that, you look at so many states, they probably want to do it in the summer when you have more tourism, where you have more 4th of July timeframe. This is supposed to be a year-long celebration. So by having this in the fall, that's really helping put an exclamation point on the fact that this is a whole year-round thing.
100%. We talked about that, and we said, a lot of these celebrations will be done around the 4th of July, as they should be. But you know what? There are some amazing 4th of July celebrations already that occur in this state. And, we got to talking about the fact that we didn't want to take away from those celebrations. Those are great community events. This is something that is wholly different. It'll only happen once. There's never going to be another harvest festival like it. There's no script for it. And we're just doing it. And I think in that way, it's totally unique, totally special, and a reminder that we are doing this, throughout the year. Some interesting things. So we got America 250. Actually, the state of Iowa will turn 180, and little things like the Century Farm Program I should have mentioned. That'll be the 50th anniversary. That program was actually initiated during the bicentennial back in 1976. And so we're just hitting all kinds of milestones this year, and it is a celebration throughout the year.
And that's interesting because, some of those Century Farms that were in that first go-round will get to be Heritage Farms, this go-around as well. So that'll be
100%.
kind of a full circle event. But, also we've been talking so much about celebrations and stuff, which rightfully so, but other things that are going on from IDAL's perspective, of course, conservation, water quality still being very much talked about in the state. And you had a few more announcements since we last spoke as well.
Very top of mind. And we want to turn that top of mind awareness and even questions and even challenging agriculture to turn into something positive, which is action. And so I really am trying to turn this into how do we then use this as to continue to build momentum. We set another record for conservation adoption in the state of Iowa last year. That's 5 years in a row. And that's remarkable. That only happens when there's hundreds of partners. I mean, there's a team of people, hundreds of people working every day with hundreds of partners and thousands of landowners to get practices done, working in the urban landscape, working in the rural landscape. And coming out of the legislative session, we secured those additional dollars to help build out water treatment infrastructure in big cities like Des Moines area, smaller communities with grants and loans, and also this water monitoring as well, but also investing upstream from the city of Des Moines in the greater Des Moines watershed, 22 counties. And we've really been rolling out. First, it was an enhanced cover crop cost share incentive, lifting the cap on the number of acres you could enroll. We expanded our streamside buffer program that allows landowners and farmers to put land into a buffer strip program, but also still be able to hay and graze that land. And we'll continue to make some announcements here. Coming soon, an expansion of our cattle and conservation working lands program. Again, trying to just convert row crop acres that are less productive and environmentally sensitive into still working lands, though, pasture ground, hay ground, using extended rotations, those types of things. And we'll be doing an expansion of that. And then coming even later is going to be some work around nutrient management, soil testing, some of those types of things as we get into the fall. So stay tuned. There's more to come, but we really are pushing. I've gotten some updates here just recently, Dustin, and we are experiencing very high demand for cover crop cost share. So I would encourage folks, if you're Iowans listening here and you're interested, get into your county conservation office because we're having strong demand pull on that program.
And of course, at a time when we're seeing more and more of these questions come up about water quality, and rightfully so, I think it's good that we highlight the programs that are in place and also the farmers and telling the story of what they're doing to help alleviate the situation. And hopefully that will also encourage more farmers to get on board.
There's no better person, no better way to encourage more farmers to do this than for other farmers to talk about their experience. Why did you do it? What was your experience? What motivated you? What's your legacy that you want to leave? And there are legitimate questions about, especially around cover crops and tillage and some of those things, is how do you do this? What are the requirements? What's the plan around this? 100%. And we love to see that farmer to farmer interaction. And again, this is where we want to turn this into awareness. Yes, but let's not just talk about it. Let's not just, frankly, be critical of others. Let's not blame others, let's think about how can we all be a part of the solution. And certainly in the ag landscape, what that means is we can be proud of the fact that we've set records for conservation adoption. We're pushing 4 million acres of cover crops. We need to do more. When we look at that 22 counties, the greater Des Moines watershed, what we're attempting to do this year is to double the cover crop acres in that specific geography. And frankly, that's been an area where cover crops haven't been as widely used. And so we're really, really pushing and really encouraging partners to get out and encourage folks and raise awareness around this, get more applications in. Let's see more work getting done. And I think that's the best way for the farm community, the ag community, to be responsive to Iowans and saying, hey, we hear you. Everybody deserves clean water. Here's what we're doing to do our part.
All right. Well, Secretary, that's been quite a discussion we've had again this month. And of course, next time we talk will be during the state fair. Of course, don't worry, our barn is exactly where it's always been, next to the Super Bowl. So we'll look forward to you coming down there. I don't know if it's going to be before or after a trip to the dairy barn, but we'll definitely look forward to you stopping by.
Well, the good news is it's not that far from the dairy barn, and so I can generally find my way to you. But no, thank you for being out there and telling those great stories throughout the fair. I am looking forward to being there, and my gosh, when we talk next month, you are really starting to look at putting the finishing touches on this crop. It's really hard to believe.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson. Joined at midday by Lori Carter of Comstock. Lori, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
The grain markets are all weak today, especially the wheat. Kansas City wheat is down 25 3/4. Chicago down 27. Corn is following suit, but not in such a big way. It's down 6 cents, and soybeans are down 1 3/4 to 2 3/4.
In your opinion, why is the wheat market headed so far to the downside here today, and why is it leading the way in the markets?
I think it's probably just technical, and then also correction in the other grains due to hopes for some rain, which isn't really a big deal in the picture for the wheat at the moment. I just think it's mainly money, profit taking, and technical correction on the wheat.
And speaking of those hopes for the rain, I know here in central Iowa, we received a little bit of rain last night. Some of our farmers to the west that are dealing with more difficult situation with the weather in western Iowa didn't get as much of that rain as they were hopeful for. What does it look like for the upcoming forecast and rain?
I think there's still hopes for part of that area to receive some this weekend, and I'm guessing we could see a Sunday night reaction based on whether or not that actually happens.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade today with some green on the screen?
Yeah, green all the way across at the moment. We've got fat cattle up 50 to 60 cents, feeder cattle up $1.20 to $1.32, hogs are up 65 to $1.50.
So, Lori, when you look at the situation with the border slowly reopening with the southern border to Mexico, are we past that initial shock period then when the price went to the downside because of that, I guess, the shock from the initial news, and now we're actually settling into a little bit more of a positive direction with the border reopening?
I think so. I think there, like you said, there was an initial shock reaction. The market had already corrected and was somewhat oversold to begin with, and we pushed it further in that direction off that news. I think reality, or maybe just some thought, has gone on here that it's we don't have probably huge numbers of feeder cattle stacked up along that border like we initially did, and that this is going to be a more gradual growth in numbers coming across when it does happen.
That was Lori Carter with Comstock. We will have a check of the numbers next.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Well, we're back on Iowa Ag Matters, and it's time to go back into the markets as we look at what's going on in the livestock complex. So far today, all the cattle and hogs are trading a little bit higher, at least in the front months. Matt Bennett of agmarket.net rejoining Mark Magnuson right now.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
Yeah, I mean, you look over at livestock, and we've had a nice little bounce here. Nothing's going on this morning. It's very quiet. But if you just go back here to last week, on the 23rd, we kind of bottomed out that fat cattle market. If you're looking at the August, you got down to 221.70, and right now you're sitting here trading at 231. So, it's a nice little bounce that we've seen. It looks like maybe the cattle market, has found its footing. I mean, we digested the news of some of these cattle coming across the border. I think it's something that the trade was expecting would happen sooner or later. And so that what I would call kind of a death spiral that you saw through from mid-June to mid-July, it looks like we've finally kind of bottomed out. As of right now, it looks like we've got a decent shot at maybe closing above that 200-day moving average on your lead month futures there. If that happens, then I've got to assume that the trade's going to feel a lot better about a low being in place for now.
What's happening on the hog side?
You look over at hogs, and really, it's just been a rough week. I mean, yesterday we just really got worked over, down 230 something, down 250, 260 there on Wednesday. And so, in all honesty, this hog market really has had a bad week. That's all there is to it. It looked like we had kind of set a low in place, kind of like we were just talking about with cattle, and we'd kind of run up here last week. We got almost to $90 there on your front month futures, but unfortunately, we've just kind of stepped off a cliff here this week. So no doubt that it's been a frustrating move. If you look at the market, your front month, of course, is your highest price, and then you've got you're going downhill. You look out to December and you're $9 lower, and then after that you get a little bit more of a healthy carry market. But as far as hogs are concerned, it looks pretty rough here this week anyway.
Matt Bennett of agmarket.net, my guest here today. Head to agmarket.net for all of the marketing information and resources from the team. Matt, thanks so much for the time. Really appreciate it, and have a great weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Have a good one.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, coming up here on Iowa Ag Matters, it's time to find out what's going on in the latest look at the export sales report for this week. Riley Smith has those numbers as he talks right now with Greg McBride of Allendale. Riley?
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Greg McBride of Allendale as we take a look at the weekly U.S. export sales report. And Greg, first off, what do we see in the corn numbers for this week?
Yeah, corn sales were very good. We were looking for, this is new crop, we were looking somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million tons. Came in just over 1 million tons at 1.06. Total sales for the week 1.42. Obviously, since we are so close, we're within a month of the end of the marketing year. We're not necessarily paying attention to those old crop sales. We're really paying attention more to the shipments, and shipments are doing very well. So continue to watch for new crop sales. Like I said, very good this week. So no concerns about the export demand for corn.
And then on the soybeans, was it any more notable on that side of the report?
Kind of the same conversation as the corn. Sales at 300,000 tons for the old crop. Again, it's a shipping situation, not necessarily a sales situation. On the new crop side of things, we were looking for somewhere between 700,000 tons and 1 million tons. We got 1.33 million tons. So very good sales. This is what we've been talking about as far as we need to continue to see consistently good new crop sales, especially from China, or purchases by China at this time of the year. This is when they do typically buy for that September, October, November delivery, pre-booking those sales or those purchases.
And then as far as the trade agreement between the U.S. and China, has good progress been made there so far? And what do we need to see from that agreement moving forward to make sure that China meets the promised amount of exports?
Yeah, we're keeping up pretty well with it. We had another flash sale this morning of 132,000 tons to China. That's 2 cargoes. That brings us with what showed up in the USDA report or the FAS report this morning. That brings us to about 6 million tons of soybeans for the new crop between China and unknown purchases. They're both really kind of just sitting right at that 3 million ton level each. So overall, doing what they've said they were going to do. We need obviously that consistency to continue. Otherwise, the market will start to fade away at this, because if they don't keep up a certain pace, the market's going to say, well, they're not doing what they say. And then we start to talk about some of the other reasons why things are not being done, whether that's the conversation about them helping Iran with rockets or shoulder launched rockets, or other trade deals with the president going over to China here in, I think it's September.
All right, Greg, lots of great information today. For anybody who'd like to get in touch with Allendale, how can they do that?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart live.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, Dustin, we had talked about it, that the heat wave would not be around for a very long time. So hopefully that wouldn't cause too much damage to the crops. But the crop condition did drop a little bit for the corn side, as we saw a steepest week-over-week decline in corn. Good to excellent ratings for this point in the growing season in nearly 20 years. Caught analysts off guard. USDA now rates the corn crop at 63% good to excellent, 25% fair, 12% very poor to poor. Last year at this time, 73% of the corn crop was in good to excellent condition.
Yeah, it's been interesting. There's the heat wave. Obviously, we need heat to get the corn going, but when it's in that pollination time and getting those ears started, that's when it's at its most vulnerable and most sensitive to really being to struggling. And that's why it was not a good time to hit these heat domes setting over here. And of course, you have those same heat domes over the Dakotas and Minnesota as well. So there's going to be a lot of stress. It's going to be interesting to see later on this fall how much effect that had.
Thanks so much for joining us for another busy week here on Iowa Ag Matters. And thanks to Riley. Thanks to Dustin. I'm Mark Magnuson. Join us again for more on Monday here on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag Matters.